What is a scary, unsettling fact about you? I killed someone in self-defense, went through the entire court process with his family sobbing hysterically and never felt a single emotion about it, and am a pretty emotional guy. People process things differently. Given that this was self-defense, I don't think it's fair to judge you for feeling nothing. Could be your mind's defense mechanism to protect you from a traumatic situation. When my grandfather died, it took my days to feel emotion. When my grandfather died, my dad was the only one of his siblings who walked from the graveyard to the wake. He just wanted to be by himself. Not sure if it's scary? But my dad OD'd on heroin and died. I probably could have saved him. I went downstairs at like 1 a.m. to get a drink and saw the bathroom door closed with the light on. I thought about pounding on the door to scare him, which is something I would do to mess with him. I walked up to the door, went to knock on it but thought to myself, nah, don't mess with him. And I walked away. Woke up later finding out he was dead from an OD. It's not your fault. You didn't know he was overdosing in there. Thank you. This happened 15 years ago, but it still crosses my mind sometimes. He may have already passed at the time you walked by too. I'm sorry for your loss. Heroin addiction is rough on family and friends. I have unusually good night vision, extra cones rods, I forget which is for low light, which means I walk around in what other people consider complete darkness, able to see just fine. Add on to that I'm 6 feet 10 inches and very large, basically a cryptid. You could single-handedly stoke interest in Bigfoot again, if you're committed to night walks. I used to dream of making some kind of suit and trying to get a cryptid legend going in my area, but I'm fairly certain I'd just get shot by some Jethro who wants to sell the carcass to the Discovery Channel. Sometimes I think I have memories of being sexually molested or exploited as a young child. But I can't ever be sure if the memories are real, and I wouldn't dare ask anyone. Edit, I am shocked and horrified at how many others have similar experiences suspicions. But the amount of people that feel comfort in knowing they aren't alone has made sharing this post worth it. Wishing you all clarity, peace, and healing. Growing up I had a recurring nightmare set in my grandparents' backyard looking at the back of their house. There was just something off about the house. Something mildly sinister. I dreamt this over and over, many times over the years. In 2018, my dad, who now owned the house, went into the backyard to that spot and killed himself. I haven't had the backyard dream since. I had a recurring super vivid intense dream at like 4. My uncle was chasing us around a labyrinth with a large knife. Trying to kill me and my grandmother. 25 or so years later the same uncle, complete paranoid delusional schizophrenic, murders my grandmother at her condo. With the very nice chef knife I bought her for Christmas the year before. Sorry for your loss, that's hard. I have a recurring dream about my paranoid schizophrenic father murdering everyone in my house. I pooped in my neighbor's backyard when I was 8 years old. Just gargoyled under his jungle gym and let loose. This is the first I've talked about it in over 20 years. Gargoyled. A random guy in a bar bit part of my ear off. Here is my ear, for all the curious people. Was it you, Trashkerluwu? Nope. He only lost part of his ear, Trashy took the whole thing. I've ripped a man's ear off with my teeth. Do you and Ghost Rider 119 need to have a talk? It was just supposed to be a nibble. Sorry, it's like when you say just one fry and you end up taking half. I can ignore being tickled. Same. Annoys my wife and children to no end. Because I'm an excellent counter-tickler. Told my daughters I learned how to beat tickling at dad's school. Graduated number 1 in my class. It's now a running joke in the family. I had 6 toes on each foot at birth and got them cut off. You can see the place they cut them at. They robbed you of the ability to run 20% faster. From ages 6 to 14, I spent all of my time in a pitch black, cold and locked basement, only leaving for school and never letting anyone, outside the family, know. I had a similar experience. From 7 to 11 I was locked in my room or the basement, and from 11 to 17 I was locked in my room. Not allowed to go out besides school, not allowed to get a job, got physically abused at home, and my main job was to watch my half-sister. I tried going for a walk once when I was 16 and my stepdad smashed my hand into a door and broke my knuckle before I made it out. Sorry you were locked up, that shit is detrimental in so many ways. I'm trying to get over it, but all my motivation and will to do anything involving leaving the house has died. I constantly think about leaving my current life behind and just living alone somewhere remote where no one knows I exist. Odd thing is, I have a really good happy life and I'd never do it, but I think about it constantly. I was the one who pushed over the Faygo vending machine at the IGA in 2006. ICP fans about to annihilate your DMs. If you listen carefully, you can hear the whoop whoop calls in the distance as they have begun to gather. I have an enlarged aortic root. It's very unlikely, but it could spontaneously rupture, leading to the medical term adjust glasses. Instantaneous death. I would pass out, bleed to death, and then fall over. Dead before hitting the ground. And it could happen at any time. My wife is very uncomfortable thinking about it, lol. I'm a physician. If you're not being followed by a vascular surgeon, you should be. They're supposed to ultrasound it at regular intervals and do a prophylactic surgery, sometimes can be done just through a catheter, with a graft if it does get too large. If it spontaneously ruptures, you do still have a chance of survival if you live near a hospital with cardiothoracic surgery. I've seen it done in person. Thanks for the advice. I do have it closely monitored by any number of specialists, including a cardiologist with a world-class specialty in my particular flavor of genetic misfortune. Just had an MRI 2 weeks ago, in fact. I'm an alcoholic, gotten so bad to the point I was in jail and I was admitted into a psych ward once. My drinking life was wild and destructive. Decided I've had enough. After 2 failed attempts, I'm currently 36 days sober, the most sober I've been in years. I do not actually remember a decent chunk of my life. Whenever I talk about most of my childhood, I use words that leave room for mistakes, and I'm generally using memories and ideas I've compiled from hearing other people say things about me. There is actually a large chunks of facts about myself that I only think I know, and don't have personal confirmation of. Yeah, I have the same problem. I think my brain is just trying to save me from the trauma. I remember a lot of the trauma, but by now it is slivers of a memory. It's all just fractions of my childhood. I have people constantly ask me if I remember this or that, and I am a deer in the headlights. I sometimes forget what happened a few days ago. I honestly barely know myself. Someone asks me about what I do, what I like, etc., and I legitimately have no idea. If I could guess, I'd say you like books. I didn't even see the username. This assumption just made sense off context. I have 2 lenses in my right eye, so it focuses like binoculars. My doctor wrote a paper about it. Mostly blinded as a baby in my left eye. Doctor suspected my right lens split, then healed as 2 distinct lenses. Better than 20/20 in my right eye. That's seriously cool. Mind referencing the paper? I might know who he is, guy. Username checks out. Nice job. I had my appendix removed in England. So part of me is in Canada right now and another part of me is in England. That's about all I got. We're keeping it safe, don't worry. Since I was very young, age 9 or 10 I think, I've had thoughts that I was going to die young. The older I got, the age 24 just kept reoccurring. I'll be 24 in a few months. I have appointments for neurologists for a suspected brain tumor coming up. Nothing is certain or set, but this all feels very weird. If it's any comfort, I had the exact same feeling and a specific age kept reoccurring for me too. I passed that age a few years ago. Smile. Here to say same. I've considered suicide far more than my wife knows. Was once a serious option in my life when things got hard and I felt trapped. Sometimes it's just a casual thought. I'm also a very light fun person in social situations, always trying to make people laugh. But I'm actually really depressed and can't stand myself a lot of the time. Edit 3, thank you all for your kind words of encouragement. I hope we can all make it through whatever dark times we may find ourselves in. Edit 2, I've been to therapy and have been on meds in the past. In between therapists right now due to an insurance change. And it's challenging to find another therapist as helpful as my first one. Edit, added more info.